Tostadas might be one of the most underrated corn tortilla form factors. It's one of my favorites to use for quick weeknight meals, and you can buy a big stack of them and just use them up with all kinds of creations throughout the week. Today, we're gonna make a quick chicken, cheese, and black bean tostada. It could not be more simpler, so let's cook. Okay, very simple one today. I love these tostadas. I'll buy them from time to time, make a bunch of tostadas. I'm already like halfway through the bag. So that's what we're gonna do today. I actually cooked up a couple of chicken thighs a little while ago. Very simple. This is one is gonna be our main topping. We do need to make the beans though. So I'm just gonna kind of grab everything out. So cheese, beans, lettuce, I think the tomatoes I have out, a little queso fresco, and a little bit of red onion. So yeah, like I mentioned, I think I grabbed a phone clip of this, but this is literally just chipotles in adobo and some garlic powder and onion powder and salt. I mean, you guys have seen me do this. This is nothing special, so I was like, let me just, again, I want you to get in the habit of like prepping proteins. It'll make your life so much easier. And then what we are gonna do is, these are some of those leftover black beans from the, I think, Southwest chicken salad. So I'm gonna use these up today. And we're gonna come back here on the stove and do them. But I need some liquid, because normally I like kind of making this with some, like with the liquid in the beans. So I think what I'm gonna try, I've never done this before, is I'm gonna mix together some of this hot sauce, some beef bouillon, and a little bit of water in here. Like I said, I've never done this before, but like, it's just all the fundamentals at play. Like there's nothing, you know, there's nothing, like it's not gonna taste bad. Like it's just, you know, something you do. So I'm gonna fill that with water, so plain water. We'll do a squirt of this kind of ancho and morito hot sauce. And then for kind of a little bit of saltiness and kind of simulate beef broth, we'll just pop a little dollop of the bouillon in there. And then we're gonna cook this down and mash it up on the back stove. Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna transfer back here. So I have my little bean mixture. Just gonna do a little drizzle of oil. Bump that heat up. Let it get nice and hot. And then literally just gonna pour this on. And then what I'm gonna do is just let that kind of simmer down, and then I'll mash it up towards the end, and we'll kind of make like a rough refried bean with this. So while that happens, I'm just gonna do all my other components up here. So I'm gonna grab a couple of this lettuce out, give it a quick little rinse. Need some tomatoes. And I do like these sugar bomb ones. They're a little bit sweeter. I definitely find them to be more flavorful if you are looking for some kind of cherry or grape tomatoes. I think I did a little blind taste test of those in the tomato video. And then this time of year, obviously we're not in tomato season, so I think I've mentioned this before. I tend to keep cherry tomatoes on hand just because they're a little bit more flavorful than like the out of season big kind of Roma or beefsteak tomatoes that you get at the grocery store. Okay, top that dry. Then gonna slice the lettuce as thin as possible. Got that done. And then I'm gonna quickly check back on our beans here. Mush them up. So just gonna kind of roughly mash these together, and then I'll let that reduce a little bit more. You know, you could completely puree these if you wanted to. I kind of like to half mash them just for a slightly different texture. All right, and just like that, I'm gonna leave that to saute down, thicken up a little bit, and then we'll be good to go. All right. So for other components, gonna get some cheese down. And what I like to do with the cheese is I'm actually gonna put this on the bottom. I'll talk through it here. And the only warm component in this is gonna be those beans. And I do that on purpose because I really like this. It's kind of like a little textural contrast you get by having it be like the only warm layer in there. Obviously you can do this however you want. This chicken, on the other hand, is gonna be, I'm just gonna leave it, I'm not gonna even bother warming it up. You know, I think temperatures is one of the interesting things that you can play around with as a cook that not many people do. Like, generally temperature contrast is something that is interesting to us. So if you ever wanna experiment with it, there are a lot of different ways you can do it. And in this case, you know, we're gonna use the beans as our hot component. But if I did the chicken too, like it may kind of like wilt the salad and stuff. And sometimes you want that, but in this case, I'm not gonna bother with it. So I'll just slice both of these up. Like, you know, I'll use the rest on something if I don't use all this. And yeah, I mean, chicken thighs, always super flavorful, juicy. Can never go too wrong with those. All right, so we spilled some beans. It's okay though. You can see nice and cooked down. So that water evaporated off that we added, kind of concentrated the flavor down. Okay, so we have our tostadas, and yeah, these tostadas are great. They're thicker, they're really crunchy, really strong corn flavor or corn aroma, and that's what I really like in a tostada. So that's why I like these a lot. Okay, so we're gonna do our pepper jack on the bottom. We're gonna spoon over the hot beans, which I should have tasted these for salt. Yeah. So spoon over our hot beans. That'll start to like lightly melt that in there. Next, we'll come in with some of our chicken. Beautiful. With our lettuce. A little tomato. Realizing I forgot to cut the onion. Let me do that now. I'll just get a little tiny piece. All right. And then for this onion, I want really small little dice. I almost want the onion to be like it's not there, other than just a little pungent bite. Very awkward cutting angle too. Okay, so you can see pretty fine on that onion, and then we'll give that just a little baby sprinkle on top. And then a little crumble of queso fresco. And that's all there is to it. So you get big crunchy layer. This cheese is gonna be like mostly not melted, but ever so slightly melted. The warm beans, the chipotle chicken, lettuce, tomato, onion, a little bit of salty kick from the queso fresco, and that is a very, very satisfying meal. Okay, so you definitely need a heftier tostada for this because these actually have some weight to them, that's how I like to make my tostadas. Let's dive in. I just love the textures that you get from tostadas. Very underrated form factor. You get the crunchy tostada, you get the kind of creaminess of that cheese and the beans in there, then the juicy chicken, a couple little fresh toppings on top. Just a very, I don't know, just a very satisfying, quick way. You know, everyone knows tortillas and you know, tortilla chips, makes tacos and all those sorts of things, but tostada is kind of a slept on form factor. So, one of my favorites, recipe for this exact version will be up if you want to follow it. But as always, feel free to experiment with whatever you have in your fridge, freezer, or pantry. That'll wrap it up for me in this one. I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace, y'all.